What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to be ranking every LEGO Hobbit set that has ever been released. This list will not include any polybags, it will simply be LEGO sets that were released at retail stores. I believe there are 14 LEGO Hobbit based sets to get through, so let's jump straight into it. So in at last place is set 79016, the Attack on Lake Town, which was released back in 2014 and retailed for $30. This LEGO set came with 5 minifigures including 2 orcs, Bard the Bowman, Bane the Son of Bard, and Toriel, and this was a rather small LEGO set coming with only 313 pieces. It's not an awful LEGO set, I don't think it's too bad, and I do quite like the fact that you can add this in with the other Lake Town LEGO set, which we'll get to later on in this list. It's a great way to expand that location from the Hobbit movie, but yeah, compared to some of the other LEGO Hobbit sets on this list, this one is rather lackluster. Next up we have set 79011, the Dol Guldur Ambush. This came with 3 minifigures, that being Bjorn and 2 orcs. And it also came with 217 pieces and was released back in 2013 for a retail price of $20. And again, I don't think it's an awful LEGO set. I think maybe you probably could have added in one more minifigure just to really justify that $20 price tag. But the Beyond minifigure is actually quite good, and the small Dol Guldur build is pretty decent. And again, I quite like that you can add that with the other Dol Guldur sets later on in this list. Next up is set 79004, the Barrel Escape, which came with 334 pieces, 5 minifigures, retailed for $40, and it was released back in 2012. So the build here is a little bit more intricate than the other 2 LEGO sets that we've just looked at, and also the minifigures are a little bit better than the previous 2. This LEGO set comes with 5 minifigures, and the 5 minifigures are very good. It includes 2 elf guards, Bilbo Baggins, and 2 of the dwarves from the Company of Dwarves. Next up is set 79001, the Escape from the Mirkwood Spiders. This came with 298 pieces, retailed for $30, and came with 4 minifigures. And this is actually not a bad set at all. I think it's a rather good value for money LEGO set. The 4 minifigures are very good, and 3 of which are actually unique to this LEGO set. You've got Philly the Dwarf, Killy the Dwarf, Legolas in his reddish brown outfit, and also Toriel in her dark green and dark brown outfit, which is exclusive to this LEGO set. The Mirkwood spiders also look pretty good, but one thing I really do love is the little net that they give you for the spiders' webs, and you can use that to trap the dwarves and pin them up on the trees. I think that's a really cool feature, certainly is a great play feature for this LEGO set. Next up we have set 79013, the Lake Town Chase. This came with 470 pieces, 5 minifigures, retailed for $50 all the way back in 2013. So this is a much bigger Lake Town building compared to the Attack on Lake Town earlier in this video. You've got 2 buildings and 1 boat build. And actually the slightly bigger build for the Lake Town Chase looks pretty good, it's rather detailed. One thing I do really like about this LEGO set is some of the minifigures that appear in it, especially that Master of Lake Town minifigure. That is a really fantastic minifigure. I mean, I'm not exactly keen on the character, he doesn't exactly play a large role in the movies, but in terms of the minifigure it looks absolutely fantastic. Same as well with the Lake Town Guard, that looks really, I love that moulded hair and helmet piece, looks very good. And also the printing on the torso and legs looks fantastic, that armour looks really cool. Next up we have set 79000, Riddles for the Ring, and I'm sure most people watching this video probably even have this LEGO set in their collection. It was a very common LEGO set because of how cheap it was, which meant a lot of people were able to go out and buy this LEGO set. It only retailed for $10, but the 2 minifigures that are included are very good. You've got that Gollum minifigure as well as the Bilbo Baggins minifigure, and then for the 2 builds you've got a boat build as well as a small Rocky build. Now the builds I'm not overly fussed on, they're very basic, not much detail to them. I mean, one's basically just a pile of rocks. But what I do love is that this was just a really cheap LEGO set in terms of a LEGO Lord of the Rings set, and it was a great way to get 2 of the arguably the main characters of the story. I've always loved that Gollum minifigure in particular, that special mould is just fantastic. Next up we have set 79002, Attack of the Wargs. This came with 400 pieces, 5 minifigures, it retailed for $50 back in 2012. And this is a really good LEGO set, the minifigures are fantastic and the builds are really good. And on top of the 5 great minifigures you've also got 2 warg figures. These are wolf-like beasts that some of the orcs ride. They come in 2 colours, one's white, one's grey. And this is just the perfect LEGO set in terms of playability. It very well represents the scene from the movie. It's really awesome and I just wish we got more LEGO playsets like this nowadays. Next up is the Goblin King Battle set 79010. This came with 841 pieces, 8 minifigures, it retailed for $100 back in 2012. And this is a bit of a monster of a LEGO set, it's really good. That Goblin King Big Fig is obviously the standout of this LEGO set. It's fantastic. It also comes with Dory the Dwarf, Gandalf the Grey, Ori and Nori the Dwarves, and 3 Goblin Soldiers. And there's just a lot of detail to this LEGO set. You really will have so much fun building and playing with this LEGO set. It really does convey the lair of the Goblin King very well, and to get 8 minifigures in a $100 LEGO set is pretty decent, something we don't really see often nowadays. Next up is set 79012, the Mirkwood Elf Army. This came with 276 pieces, 6 minifigures, retailed for $30 back in 2013. Now I'm a massive fan of this LEGO set. Maybe I do overrate it a little bit, but I almost think this is actually a little bit of a overpowered battle pack. Although it does have 2 named characters, the other 4 minifigures are essentially just nameless characters that you can army build. You've got 2 random Mirkwood Elves, as well as 2 Gundabad Orc soldiers. Then you also have a Toriel minifigure, as well as the main selling point to this LEGO set, which is easily that King Thranduil minifigure. I don't really need to go on about just how good this minifigure is. It's absolutely fantastic. I think out of all the LEGO Lord of the Rings and Hobbit sets, this would easily make my top 5 minifigures in my opinion. So to be able to get that in only a $30 LEGO set was fantastic. Not to mention the build was pretty good, and also it came with another Warg figure. So you really did get quite a lot for your money for only $30. Next up is the Battle of the 5 Armies, set 79017. This came with 472 pieces, 7 minifigures and retailed for $60. Now I will say for starters I'm not overly keen on the builds, I don't think they're that good, but where it's at is obviously the minifigures. The minifigures are fantastic. 5 of the minifigures in this LEGO set are unique to this LEGO set, and those minifigures are brilliant. You've got Arzog with a unique face print, Bard the Bowman, Dane Ironfoot, which is a brilliant dwarf minifigure, which again is unique to this LEGO set, Legolas Greenleaf, and Thorin Oakenshield with his gold armour and crown. It's a bit of a toss up what my favourite minifigure is between the Thorin Oakenshield and the Arzog minifigure, both of which are fantastic. Those minifigures are becoming increasingly rare and sought after now, so that does go to show just how good these minifigures really are. Next up is the Witch King Battle, set 79015. This came with 101 pieces, 3 minifigures and retailed for $15 back in 2014. This LEGO set was released for the Battle of the 5 Armies movie and features 3 minifigures, those being Galadriel, Elrond and the Witch King. You've also got a smallish build which probably goes well with the other Dol Guldur sets on this list. But again, what I love about this LEGO set in particular is the value for money you get with the minifigures. They're simply sensational. Elrond is fantastic, the Witch King is awesome, but probably the standout is that Galadriel minifigure. I could make a whole video on just how good the Galadriel minifigure is. The hairpiece is phenomenal, the printing on the torso and the leg piece is fantastic, the printing on the torso and the skirt piece is awesome, and even that cape is one of the best capes we've probably ever seen in all of LEGO. Same could even be said for the Witch King, he comes with that tattered cape, it looks fantastic on him. Next up is the Dol Guldur Battle, set 79014. This LEGO set retailed for $70, it came with 797 pieces and 8 minifigures. And I think this LEGO set really did get the balance of both fantastic minifigures and a fantastic build. Diving into the build briefly, it's really good. You've got 2 stony staircases which lead up to the battlements of Dol Guldur. This LEGO set really does kind of play with the horror elements that were seen in the movie. Dol Guldur was not a nice place, you would not want to be caught there. And the minifigures for this LEGO set were fantastic. You've got Arzog, Gandalf the Grey, Radagast, 2 Gundabad Orcs, a Necromancer of Dol Guldur, and 1 random skeleton which I guess you can just put in the cage. And then you've got a statue which does technically count as a minifigure. The 2 standouts for this LEGO set is easily the Arzog minifigure and the Radagast the Brown minifigure. I probably lean more towards the Radagast the Brown minifigure just because of how good that hat and hair piece is. Bit of a gross detail, but you even see the bird poop printed on his hair. On to second place now, we have the Lonely Mountain, set 79018. This came with 866 pieces, 5 minifigures and retailed for $130. And obviously you'll see in the picture that this LEGO set didn't just come with a great build, and it didn't just come with 5 great minifigures, it came with that awesome Smaug figure. And that Smaug figure is massive and now sells on its own for easily over $200. In fact, if you want this LEGO set brand new, that will cost you about $400. So to see this LEGO set cost more than triple the original retail price is absolutely insane and shows just how good a LEGO set this was. You probably weren't buying this LEGO set for the build, most people would be buying this LEGO set for that Smaug figure. And what a figure it is, it's probably one of the most detailed big figs we've ever had. And as for the 5 minifigures included in this set, you've got Balin the Dwarf, Bilbo Baggins, Feely and Keely the dwarves, and Dwalin the dwarf. Overall a perfect LEGO Hobbit set, and I just really am wishing that we do get another one of these remade. So it's time to move on to first place for the best LEGO Hobbit set ever made. You probably know what LEGO set I'm talking about. Yes, it's the Unexpected Gathering set 79003. This came with 652 pieces, 6 minifigures, and retailed for $70. Yes, Bilbo's Bag End, which is part of the Shire, is easily the best LEGO Hobbit set we ever had. And if you want to buy this LEGO set brand new now, that'll cost you about $250. I think it's probably one of the best builds we've had in all of LEGO Hobbit and all of LEGO Lord of the Rings. It's fantastic. It really does capture the whimsy of Bag End and the Shire. And when you take a look inside Bilbo's house, it's actually quite detailed. You've got a table to be able to see all the dwarves for Bilbo to feed. And speaking of the minifigures, this LEGO set came with 6 minifigures, 5 of which were exclusive to the set. You have Gandalf the Grey, Dwalin the Dwarf, Bumber the Dwarf, Bilbo Baggins, Bofur the Dwarf, and Balin the Dwarf. My favourite is probably the Bofur the Dwarf figure because it's a really cool hat piece that he has. Also the printing on the torso is great. In fact, the printing on a lot of these minifigs is great. Even when you take a look at the Bumber the Dwarf minifigure, the printing that's on his beard looks really cool. Overall, this is just the perfect LEGO Hobbit set. It's just absolutely fantastic, and it's another LEGO set we desperately need remade. Anyway guys, that is it for my ranking of the best LEGO Hobbit sets ever made. Let me know down in the comments what is your favourite LEGO set in this list. I'd love to know. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one.